Well, thank you, Dr. Cross. This is certainly a distinct privilege and honor for me to be here. I'm very humbled by the opportunity and looking forward to it.
And it's like I wasn't. Let me get here back on the screen. And sorry for to the listeners. I guess they weren't seeing me on the screen. Um, so again, I just want to say thanks to all those who are here, and we have an amazing guest, Mr. Smith. But before we get into the conversation today, and even before I introduce him, or I just want to say those who are here, please go ahead and share the conversation with your network, with your connection, because something will be shared tonight that will be beneficial to you. And so, that's what the conversation is about, to bring the voices, the perspectives, and the insights that we all can benefit as we move forward, especially to uplift our community. So, I'm just going to introduce Mr. Smith just a little bit before I share with you, and then I give him the floor to talk more about himself and the work. So, this platform, which I've shared before, is to highlight Black men who are making a meaningful difference in their communities, institutions, and professions. Men who understands that leadership is not simply about position, but about influence, responsibility, and the willingness to show up for others. Tonight, conversation centers on journey, resilience, mentorship, and impact. We will explore what it truly means to lead with purpose, overcome challenges, and build something that extend beyond ourselves. So, just to give you a little bit about Mr. Smith before I give him the floor to share more with you. And Mr. Smith has over 30 years as a trusted advisor and business strategist. He's passionate about transforming marginalized communities through AI adoption. And, Mr. Smith, if you don't mind to share more about yourself and your work before we get into the conversation with our listeners this evening.
Well, thank you, Dr. Cross, for that eloquent introduction. My path is really a very simple one. And that is, I come from a very humble background relative to being born in a very small town, Lexington, North Carolina, and then moved to Greensboro, North Carolina, where I actually grew up when I was around 8 or 9 years old. But did not come from a legacy wealth family, did not come from an environment with a silver spoon in my mouth, but it came from a very strong faith based family that understood the principle of work ethic. All of my uncles and my grandfathers, they were hardworking men. Having been just two generations removed from being emancipated as slaves, they understood what it took in order for them to live the right example as men before their families and to then exemplify their core values and how they live their lives with a great degree of respect, dignity, and commitment to just being a man, a God fearing man in most cases, because I come from a very strong faith based background. Went to public school, transferred to a private school. We'll get to a little bit more about that in one of the questions that I'm going to be asked. But at the end of the day, was fortunate enough to become a professional athlete in sports, and that was great. But at the end of the day, my path was very, very simple. And that was one as to where I understood that no one was coming to save me. My parents raised me with a very strong work ethic, that anything you get in life is earned, it's not given. And at the end of the day, what you must do is, if you are going to be a person of any degree of notoriety or respect, you got to earn it. No one's going to hand it to you. It's not going to be something that's just going to be gifted to you along the way. It's earned. And so I've taken that approach with everything that I do in life as it relates to the 30 plus years we've been a trusted business advisor across all sectors of business. And so I'm proud to say that even if you look at our website, we have handled more than over 4,000 client engagements over the 30 years we've been doing this. We have been successful in allowing for businesses to grow exponentially and scale their businesses to the tune of around $4.87 billion in exponential growth within those businesses. What does that mean? That means I've had the very great privilege of being able to see families change, communities change, lives being impacted, and not necessarily just for the business owners, but for the communities that they serve, the business values that they bring to the table, as well as being able to earn a right themselves to be highly respected in their disciplines and their vocations. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 30 years. And I would probably say over the last eight, I'd have really been a lot more focused on marginalized, underserved, and underrepresented communities because that's where the greatest need is right now. There's a huge gap in intellectual properties and the ability for men like us to be able to understand what is required of us in terms of the gifts that God has given us and what we need to leave for the next generation. So it's a privilege to be here, and I look forward to the dialogue.
Man, it's a, just listening to you, I just, can sense the passion. And especially as you talk about, to do the work in the communities that really needs it. And, we have to come to that consensus where if we're going to help the next generation, we have to double down on what we can do for those who really need it. And our community really needs it. And as you talk about, scaling business, that's also something that we also need to learn in our community because, we have all these business ideas, we have all these great projects. But sometimes, we don't get to that point where we can scale it to make it become a full-fledged business to last for generations. So hopefully we can get to touch on that as we go through tonight's questions. And for those who are here with us, I want to say thanks again. And please remember to share this conversation with your community. You're going to hear some things tonight that will benefit you and maybe benefit not only you as a person, maybe your community, maybe your organization. So please go ahead and share with your community. And I'm so excited about this conversation tonight. So I'm going to start off with this question. When you think about your journey, what defining moment shaped the man you are today?
Great question. And that's a great question to start out with. I mentioned briefly that I would get to it here in a moment in the questions. One of the defining moments for me was we had already won the state championship in football and in basketball in public school when I was a sophomore and a junior. So I didn't score so well on my first effort at the SAT. And so I knew that in order for me to be able to accept the Division I scholarships that were being offered to me, I had to raise the scores on my SAT. So during the course of that summer, a prestigious private school, Greensboro Day School in Greensboro, North Carolina, invited me to transfer to the school. And so I took a lot of criticism from the Black community. I was called a sellout. You going out there to be with them. You don't support and believe in us anymore. You done won your state championship, so now you're going to leave us behind. But I was blessed to have a very strong family. And my mother and my dad raised me and my sisters to be independent thinkers. And they said, hey, son, if this is something you sincerely want to do, we will support you because we've taught you since you were a child. You don't listen to what other people have to say about you because they don't know you. You know who you are. You know who your family is. You know who the God is that you serve. So don't let that deter you from if that's what you sincerely want to do. But I will caution you because my mother was a retired caterer. She was a caterer at the time. And she said, a lot of the clients that I serve, I know these children. She said, for them, this is a way of life. for us as African Americans, we don't always get these types of opportunities. So if you go out there, you're going to have to set a standard. True enough, I was the only black male to be in that graduating class. Out of the entire class, I graduated number 7 out of a very high number of students, right at around 97 students. And that was big for a private school at that particular point in time. But here's the defining moment to answer your question. The very first day in school, in my senior year, in pre calculus, we had a quiz. And so I did okay on the quiz, I thought. So when I came out of the class, one of the guys that was on the basketball team, his locker was right next to mine. He said, Antoine, how did you do? I said, I passed. So he said, oh, okay, you passed. And he sort of said it sarcastically. He said, I scored a 97. I only missed one. That sent a clear message to me at that moment that he was competing in the classroom the way that I had always competed on a football field, a baseball diamond, or a basketball court. And the competitor in me came out. And I always strive to win. I hate coming in second. It's just something about me. It doesn't set well with me. And I decided at that moment I was not going to go out there and be embarrassed. I was going to know, just like he did on any future test, how well I scored as soon as I put the pencil down. So that changed my whole dynamic as it relates to how I thought. It was beyond sports at that moment. It was a defining moment for me because it was then transcending sports and talking about life. It was no
Right.
longer going to be about football or basketball. It was going to be about how I measured up. And so that was a defining moment for me.
Man, and I appreciate you sharing that. Especially as an athlete myself, I can relate to when someone, especially when they bring it to you and show it to you, it's like they want to tell you something.
Sure.
So I had some experiences like that, which really helped to put more effort into what you choose to do. So my next question to you, and I really appreciate how you tie sports into it, and how from that foundation, it helps to build you into the person you are today. So what motivates you to continue showing up for your community, even when the work is challenging, and working in our community is challenging?
Well, another great question. For me, to be quite simple, it's the knowledge that if I live the right example, that there's a young man or woman that is in my community that I don't even think is noticing me, but they're watching. And if they see my success, they can at that particular moment make their own decision that they too can be just as big, better, and even greater than I am because they've seen me do it. So now it is not a matter of we don't ever get those type of opportunities. Well, that chance never comes for us. Well, if I see Mr. Smith and Mr. Dr. Cross doing it every day, then I know that it's possible. And now that I know that it's possible, then that young man or that young woman somewhere in that marginalized, underserved, and unrepresented community just made a committed decision in their heart and in their mind that they can do it too. So I have to live that example so that they can see that success. And it's not just all about running the mouth with the chatter. They got to see me living it and doing the right thing, even when it's hard to do the right thing, when most people might not like you for making tough decisions.
Well, and well said. And and the young people need not only to hear what you just said. As adults, we also need that reminder as well, because we have to remember, keep in mind that someone is always watching. And once we decide to tell them what is possible, the next best thing, or the best thing, is to make sure we are modeling it. But listening to you answering that question, it also stems from that foundation that your parents gave you to think independently. Because once we decided that we're going to do something, there are going to be people with opinions. And those opinions are not always about us and what we're doing, but sometimes to get us to stop doing what we are doing to make a difference, because they may think, oh, it's not, nothing's going to happen. But if it's only one person that's been impacted positively by the work, then it is worth doing. Which leads me to my next question. Was there ever a reason where you doubted yourself? How did you push through it?
Well, to be quite frank and just straightforward, candid, you're not human if you don't have those doubts. You're not. Because society, business situations, life situations, all of those things will challenge you and throw doubt at you. So, yes, there have been moments as to where I doubted whether or not I really, really belong. For example, going into business after being an athlete, one of the most difficult challenges that athletes face is going from the locker room to the boardroom. They think that their money and their influence is automatically going to translate into success. Well, you might be highly respected for what you can do as an athlete, but in the business world, you're not respected unless you can deliver results, unless you can deliver some type of value proposition that some organization, some individual, or some institution is willing to invest and spend money with you or on you. So, with that being the case, there are going to be doubts. There's going to be times as to where you're, like, say, for example, I use the analogy when I first started my career in the private capital markets. I was the only chocolate chip in the cookie, so to speak. That means I was the only black man in the room. And that was quite often the case. But I couldn't be intimidated, even though I had doubts at times in the back of my mind. Do I really, really belong here? I don't have a Harvard MBA. I didn't go to the Oxford School of English for Business Management in London. I didn't go to Stanford or any of the other high profile business schools. But what validated me being there was what they had in education, I had in real life experience. When they were studying how deals were being done, I was closing deals because I was already in the marketplace, on the grind, doing business. So, yes, there were doubts as to where before one of my mentors shared with me, Antoine, the first million you make will be the hardest million you ever make. But after you've made it, you'll have a millionaire mindset at that point and you'll never be broke again because you've made it before. Now you know how to go back and make it again. And so, with that being the case, your successes eliminates those doubts. So build upon your successes so that you can have ongoing momentum at all times so that it quiets the doubts. The worries and the distresses go away and you start to become very efficient at figuring it out, making your pivots and making your adjustments in order to forge forward.
Well said, well said. Because there are people here who have dreams and goals, and maybe because of the fear or the doubt, they don't put their best foot forward or even make the step, not realizing that's part of the journey. The fear, the doubt will be there. But you said something that I believe is really valuable. Where to be trusted in those spaces at times, you have to go and do your best work, because they sometimes will only give you the opportunity, or if you get the opportunity, you want to provide or produce results. Let them know that you know what you bring to the table. But also for those who are listening, as you share, doubt is a part of being human. We all will experience doubt, especially if we're venturing into something new. The doubt will creep in, but that doesn't mean we are not able or capable of doing what we have the desire to do. We just have to push through the doubts, and after a while, the confidence will kick in, especially once we start seeing results, once we start making a positive impact. Which leads me to my next question. What does leadership mean to you beyond titles and positions?
Leadership to me means delivering excellence in everything that you do. That sounds like a sexy catchphrase in today's environment as far as delivering excellence. However, true excellence means that you are striving each and every day to be better at your craft. Spend that extra time doing research. Spend that extra time picking up a course or going to a trade association event. Always be a learning organism, gaining information, soaking up information. And I often use the analogy that the true fact is you are, in most cases, plus or minus 10% of your net worth, right? And that equates to your net worth. In other words, your net worth is plus or minus 10% to your net worth. So if you want to be a millionaire and $1 million earner, you can't be networking with individuals that only make 150, $250,000 a year. Because that means you're probably only making 135 or 165, $170,000 a year. Get into that next room. Challenge yourself on excellence and learn how to excel at their level, because they will teach you things and you will learn things that you cannot learn or know on your own. But you have to challenge yourself that excellence is the only thing that you will accept in what you do and how you put your best foot forward. Therefore, the reason that Smith Group is as respected as it is in the business advisory space is because we deliver excellence. We are superior to any other small business advisory firm. People often call us the McKinsey and Company of small business advisory. I take that as an extreme honor, because being associated with a multi-trillion-dollar consulting organization is certainly an honor. However, what I did was I looked at their business model and said that for the communities and the people that look like me, how can I take all of those high profile, complex training mechanisms and methodologies and boil it down to a level as to where my people, my community, my tribe can soak that in, bring that in, and I can simplify it enough so that they can then get a taste of excellence and see what it's like to be the best in your discipline and in your domain for whatever it is you do.
Man, well said and well received. I hope the listeners heard what you just said, especially when it comes to networking and find ourselves in rooms that will challenge us. I remember in college, a speaker came on campus and he said, if you're the smartest person in your group, you need another group. And you're always going to be like the people you spend the most time with. And as you stated, if we have the desire to be, say, multimillionaire or, do something great in the world or achieve, extraordinary success, we need to be around those individuals who are actually doing it. So there are things that they can teach us, as you stated, that we will not learn on our own. So what I got from that, because it's, leadership beyond the titles, we have to know that the work takes us in different spaces, not just the title, but the work that we do, because you can have the title, but if you're not doing the work, you're just, someone with a title, which leads me to my next question. How do you stay grounded while carrying responsibility and influence, being that they make they compare you to organization or advisory groups that are doing exceptionally well, and and that is an accomplishment, as you stated. So how do you stay grounded, while carrying responsibility and influence?
Well, it all goes back to what I stated about my parents. I grew up in a very strong faith based environment, and that faith is what holds me together day by day, period, in life. I know For those of us who may or may not be Christian, it doesn't matter what your faith is. I'm not proselytizing or castigating or putting anyone's down for their beliefs. But whatever God you serve, here's what I know. His promise is that he will never, ever put too much on you than what you can handle. What you are experiencing today in the form of pain, struggles, adversities are preparing you for the opportunity that he's going to present to you tomorrow. So don't shirk the responsibility of dealing with the pain. Don't walk away from the frustrations and the setbacks and disappointments, because those are the very lessons you'll need in your lessons learned repository when it comes time for you to step up to that great window of opportunity that's just around the corner. It's just around the corner waiting on you. But there is a process. You don't grow from being a child to being an adult in 20 minutes. That happens over the course of a lifetime. There are things that you learn as a child that teach you lessons on how you should conduct yourself as a teenager. There's things that you learn as a teenager that helps you understand how you should conduct yourself as a young adult. And then as you grow and you mature, then you have family of your own. Those things that you've learned every step along the way in life have taught you everything you need to know to be your best self. That's what it is all about. And my faith is my rock. I know that there's not too much that my God will put on me that I cannot handle. And if it's too much, he will always make a way for me to get through it, no matter what. I know it because I have trusted him in those situations time and time again. And every time I thought that it was about to be the darkest moment ever, he's an on time God, never early, never late, but right on time. However, here's something else that I share, even when I'm mentoring in public speaking. And listen to this, everyone, when I say this. The opportunity of a lifetime will only exist in the lifetime of the opportunity. I'll say that again. The opportunity of a lifetime will only exist in the lifetime of the opportunity. And the lifetime of those opportunities shrink very, very fast. So when opportunity knocks on your door, be prepared to step up to the opportunity. Some people call it luck. There's no such thing as luck. Success is opportunity and preparation coming together at the exact moment that the results are needed. That's what success is. And the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary.
That's
Everywhere
right.
else, you got to put in the work first before you get to the success. That's
That's
how
right.
life works.
That's right. And earlier, when you were talking about God will not give us more than we can bear, I almost said, "Amen." I got I got to remember I'm right here. But that was a great reminder to all of us. This as you're talking about the challenges or the struggles, that we should not walk away from it because it's a part of our preparation for what's to come. And I also want to acknowledge, as you stated, the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. Work always comes first, which leads me to my next question. What lesson did adversity teach you that success never could?
Wow. I hate to keep reverting back to an athlete, but you don't have to be an athlete. So let me take that moniker off. As a human being, the one thing that you can count on, and I promise you this, test me on it if you want to, be relentless, be fearless, right? Be disciplined and stay focused. Because if you are relentless, if you are fearless, and if you are disciplined and you stay focused, you can do great things. But it requires that relentlessness, that attitude that I don't care what happens, I'm not going to quit on this. I'm not going to quit on this opportunity. I'm not going to quit on myself. And that's where even this conversation today, Dr. Cross, inspires me. If I quit on Antoine Smith, I quit on the community that I serve.
That's
It's
right.
just that simple. And if I quit on the community that I serve, I'm depriving the community as well as the rest of the world an opportunity for me to help them. And hey, check this out. It's always a two-way street. They can help me. It doesn't matter the amount of success and life experiences that I have. I learn every day. And I don't have to learn it from some billionaire, millionaire. I learn from children. I learn from young people just watching and experiencing life. Be willing to learn. Check your ego and your logo at the door. You talked about titles earlier, right? When I come to the table, I don't come to the table as CEO, although that's my title. I come to the table as an individual that has earned the right to be in that seat. So therefore, my ego and logo got checked at the door, and that puts me in the best mindset to collaborate, to be open to different perspectives, to see things differently than I might see them so that I can get the better benefit from it. That's what a mastermind concept is, the collective brain power and brain trust of multiple minds. When you take away or you detract from one of the minds, when negativity creeps in, a bad spirit, a bad attitude, not wanting to be a team player, you disintegrate the mastermind.
That's right.
But as long as it's cohesive and it's together, I do my part. When I played quarterback on the football field, I couldn't throw it and run down there and catch it. I just had to make sure that I put it in a place where the receiver could make a play on the ball. That was my job. It was his job to catch it. So learn your role, be comfortable with your role. And again, going back to life experiences, and this is what I teach and I coach in when I'm mentoring, I'm going to make you uncomfortable all the time. But what you need to do is be comfortable being uncomfortable, because I'm going to make you uncomfortable, because there's
Well,
no growth in the comfort zone. I'm going to make you uncomfortable. You just need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
man, you're preaching. You're preaching. Which is good. So let me take the time for those who are here. I hope you have been taking notes, because the lessons that are shared here today, tonight, they will be beneficial as you press forward on your journey. So make sure you are taking notes. And also remember to share this conversation, because the knowledge that you are getting should not only be for yourself. So help someone else to pick up some of this knowledge that is being shared tonight, this evening. So I want to say thanks again to everyone that's here. We're going to keep going with the conversation because this is getting really good. Which leads me to my next question. How do you define impact in a way that goes beyond visibility or recognition, as you know, especially when it comes to our community? And I know you have been doing the work for a long time. I know you have been one of the trusted advisors. How do you define impact in a way that goes beyond visibility or recognition?
Outstanding question.
Thank
For
you.
me, and I don't, because I can tend to be emotional sometimes, so I don't want to get too choked up here, but being just straightforward and being honest, it's the ability to see lives change before your very eyes. That's how I measure my impact. When I see the needle being moved and I see lives being changed before my very eyes, I know that I'm doing it right. One of the things that my grandmother used to say, and it's in scripture in the Bible, and I don't want to sound preachy, but to whom much is given, much is required. And she used to tell me all the time, son, you got some gifts. But God didn't give you all of those gifts for you to be selfish with. Learn how to serve, enjoy serving, being able and willing to give to others for their benefit. Because a lot of those gifts God gave to you, He didn't give them to you just for you. He gave them to you so that you could give them to someone else. So I want to see you serving, son. I want to see you helping other people. And I always tried to live my life that way. And if she was here, I think she would be somewhat pleased with the results of my life and what I've been able to do as far as having a servant leadership attitude. That's what my leadership style is to serve. I set my people up to succeed. I never set my people up to fail. That's a bad leader that does not know how to set his people up to succeed. Let me give you a real world example. We ran a cohort for a tech careers training program for a group of high school and young adults in North Carolina. And so one of the young men, I'm not going to take credit for his success because he got it. He literally got it. He was focused. He was disciplined. All of those words that I just used. He was relentless. He knew what he wanted to do. And so he was excelling in one of our software engineering cohorts that we teach when we help folks understand that want to get into the tech space. And so his name was Issa. And so young Issa was very focused and he was leading every module, every exercise. He was scoring. He was finishing early. He was asking, could he help others or whatever the case may be. So the short of the long story was after he finished and we gave him his certification and we gave him his letter of reference and he got a full scholarship to a local university, which we're so proud of that young Black king and what he's doing. But here's what I mean when I say lives change before your very eyes. At the graduation ceremony, his mother, who I knew, who came to me and asked me, could he be in the program? She said, Antoine, I'm so thankful for what you've done. And Issa's really, he talks about you all the time. I said, well, hey, he's that next gen. He's that next dude. I already see it in him. I said, so it wasn't us. It was his own work ethic, his focus, and his discipline that got him success. So Issa walked up just as I was saying that. He said, Mama, I got a surprise for you. She said, what's that? He said, you know that second job you said you gonna go get so that I can have some money at school and I can save up or whatever to maybe get a car? She said, yeah. He said, don't go get it. You don't have to go get it. He said, Mr. Smith has paid me to work as a project manager on several of his projects, even outside of what we got. I got enough money, mama, that you don't have to work to get that second job. And if he's going to keep me on the projects moving forward, and he is still with us as a contract, I told him I wouldn't interfere to put too much work on him because I want his academics to stay tight. But he said, Mama, by the time I get to be a sophomore, I'll move off campus and I'll have more than enough money to buy my own car. So you ain't even got to worry about trying to save no money to get me a car. He said, Mr. Smith has put me in a position to be successful. And so she broke down crying and I got teary eyed or whatever. But that's what I'm talking about. That part right there to see lives change before my very eyes. And he was going to be the first generation to go off to college in his family.
Man, that is amazing. And, it's stories like that really make a tremendous difference in our communities. Individuals who are in position should help others to be in position to succeed. And, man, I really commend you on the work, that work, especially, where a young person, a young man can change his life. And in the process of him changing his life, he's also making the life of his mom, who thought she had to. Because, that's how the moms are at times. They will go the extra mile, I tell you, to make sure. Sometimes you have to be wondering, what gave these mothers the strength to do that. But you doing the work, and the young man, really stepped up and showed that he's committed, to his own success. But again, you created uh, an area, an opportunity for him to excel. And we need to hear more of such in our community, because that's how we're going to transform our community, especially when we're in the position to do so. Again, I just want to commend you on that. But it kind of ties to my next question, because that's what you actually did. So the question, which I'm still going to ask, what role has mentorship played in your life, either receiving it or giving it?
Great question. Well, we've often heard, especially this is March now, we heard it probably every day of last month as it relates to Black History Month and standing on the shoulders of those who came before us.
Okay.
So we can't ever forget the past lineage of the sacrifices that were made by our people in order for certain doors to be open for us to even be able to walk up to, not even less walk through those doors, but
Correct.
even the ability to walk up to those doors. And so I have a very short list. I don't have a long list because I was very choosy and selective in the men that I chose to ask to guide me. But I was very, very fortunate that they were very giving of themselves. They selflessly shared personal experiences that went beyond a normal level of mentorship so that that bond could become strong. And it wasn't just about them telling me something, it was about them expressing their deep inner soul and being able to get me to a certain point. So when you talk about mentorship, I think sometimes the mentor becomes a little bit too glorified in their own eyes. Every mentor relationship, if it's done correctly, should reach a certain point of maturation.
Correct.
And you should then be able to take the training wheels off, step back, and let them go and learn on their own. Because if you try to make yourself seem indisposable instead of mentoring, you become a crutch because they won't try to figure it out on their own. They will then use you as a default mechanism to come bail them out. And I've shared with the mentees that I've mentored over the years the same thing that my mentors shared with me. And at a certain point, they say, okay, you're a big boy now. You're on your own, son. Now, I'm not going to ever let you crash and burn because I'll always be watching, but I'm not going to make tough decisions for you. I will sit with you and counsel with you and give you some guidance and direction on what choices you may or may not want to make, but I'm not going to make the decision. The decision has to be yours. And so, in doing that, you can now take complete ownership of the decisions you make, the consequences that come as a result of those decisions you make, learn from it, grow from it, and make your next move. I often share my mindset of not being a history major. There's a reason that the windshield of a car is bigger than the rearview mirror of a car. The rearview mirror only shows you your past. And there's only a certain amount of information in that rearview mirror that'll help you as far as where you're getting ready to go. The windshield in front of you is bigger because there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger destiny in front of you, greater opportunities. So don't be a history major. Learn what you need to learn from your experiences in your relationships. So when I pour myself into a mentee, I ask them straight up front when we begin the relationship, what do you expect of me? And we have a heart to heart, real conversation about the fact that I'm human. I've made mistakes. I haven't done everything perfect in my life. I am still capable of making mistakes. But the life experience I've learned, and gain from that, I know how to pivot very well because I've learned from the mistakes that I've made. And that's what you do in order to become great. You learn when, where, and how to pivot, even though you had a setback without it destroying you. You have the mindset, that relentlessness, that fearlessness, that discipline to be able to forge forward. And I manage their expectations. The one thing that I think that even we do as kings and leaders of our communities and our families is try to promote to people that we are perfect. Absolutely wrong. Because when a parent tells a child that they're perfect, And the first time they see mom or dad make a mistake, or they catch mom and dad in somewhat of a portion of an untruth or a lie, trust is destroyed. Trust is instantly destroyed. Success and relationships and overall leadership is built on trust. People follow leaders when they know that they can trust them, and they don't even trust you until they learn to respect you. That comes first. How many successful leaders, great leaders, do you know that are highly disrespected? None. It doesn't work that way. You have to be respected, you have to be trusted, and then people will come to you. I have clients now that I did business with 25, 30, 40 years ago. They call me even if it has nothing to do with business. They call me just to ask me questions about life. Hey, Antoine, I'm dealing with this, man. Help me understand. Have you ever dealt with something like this before? In some cases, I have. In some cases, I may not. But we can put our hearts and minds together to figure it out. You don't always have the solutions as a leader, but you need to be humble enough to understand that I don't know what I don't know, and I need to go get this answer from somewhere and be willing to step up to it.
Man, that is, you know, a wealth of knowledge and a reminder to everyone that's here listening. And I told you all you should have your pen and paper. So I hope you took some notes. All right, maybe to share some of those notes with your community, even with me. You can make it in the comment, share it in the comment area, because when it comes to mentorship. It is so important. It's not just what we receive as the mentee when we are on our journey, but also what we give to the mentees and be able to step back at times when it's fitting, so the mentees can become who they're supposed to be because they have to learn as well. So I'm not going to go over all that Mr. Smith just stated because I have so many more questions here. And hopefully, I can get through to those questions in this conversation. So, my next question to you, which you have already alluded to, especially when you share about the young man that still works with you today. But how do you intentionally pour into the next generation of Black men? I know you have stated, that young man that work with you and stuff like that. But how do you intentionally do so?
That's sort of an easy thing for me, simply because in a lot of cases, whether I'm being brought in to speak at a regional chamber of commerce event, regional economic development event, or I'm being brought in order to motivate or inspire a faith-based organization as a speaker, there's always a handful of young men that come up to me and ask me, can they connect with me? And hey, Mr. Smith, do you mind if I get your number? Can I call you sometimes or whatever? I intentionally pour into myself by making myself available. I let them know that, hey, I am quite busy. However, I commit to you, just like I do to anyone, that if you call me or you send me an email or you send me a text message, it'll never be any longer than one day. If my schedule is super busy that day, I will make time to get back to you within a day. And with that being the case, all I will need to understand from you is, how can I help you? When you go to a mentor or you're seeking out guidance from leadership, don't just go to that mentor, potential mentor, or that leader with vague questions. One of the gentlemen that taught me early on in the legal and finance and structured finance space, I used to be the director of operations for a law firm, even though I did not hold the Juris Doctorate degree. But the senior lawyer, who was actually my business partner, me and him helped found the firm. And at the end of the day, the first couple of times we met, I walked into his office empty handed. He said, "There's a problem here." I said, "Jim, what are you talking about?" He said, "There's a problem here, Antoine." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Don't ever come to my office empty handed without a pen and a pad." because you can't keep everything I'm going to tell you inside your head. You need to be able to be copious in your note taking and go and write it down and figure it out. And then you come back to me with some solutions. Don't bring problems in my office with no solution. When you come to me, have a solution in mind for whatever the problem is, and we can work it out from there. And so when by being intentional, I ask them, how can I help you? And then I specifically give them, in most cases, one or two homework assignments. It's really sort of to test their commitment. If I never hear from them after I give them the homework assignment, I knew that they were never committed. If I hear immediately back and they say, okay, this is Mr. Smith, this is what I got, this is what I learned, then now I know you're committed. So now I say, okay, this is what I'm willing to do for you. And by being intentional, I commit resources to the extent that it's not costly to me or my business because I got plenty of resources. I commit resources to help them start where they are at in order to get to that next. So that's how I intentionally pour myself into the mentoring process so that it's already an iterative, interactive relationship from the very beginning.
And thanks for sharing that, especially those who are having the desire to be mentors, and sometimes you have to help the mentees know what they need to know as you go forward. And I really appreciate the part that you state that provide assignments to the mentee, and that's how you test their seriousness in what they so desire. And not only that, you stated something that I believe is also valuable, which kind of I lose the thought of what you stated, but it's going to come back, and then I'm going to bring it up, with you, to you, for you to share maybe a little bit more on that point that you make. So I'm going to go into, and I've been like just kind of posting the some of the comments on the screen, because I know I will not, I didn't want to just kind of get into, break from the conversation or the points that you're making. But there have been some great um, comments and feedback from a few people here. So I'm just going to highlight a couple before I ask my next question. And this is Inspire TV. It is truly, which let me put it up on the screen again. It is truly inspirational to see successful Black men stepping up as leaders and mentors for the next generation, which is really important because it becomes easier for the next generation to aspire for greater when they can see it. So we have to make sure we step up. And this is just, just to say thanks, to Dr. Cross for hosting another impactful conversation on leadership. And thank you, Mr. Smith, for being a great influence um, in these young men lives. All right. I think that's, and also just another I want to highlight before we continue. This discussion on the Black Male Impact Channel has really helped me to appreciate Black excellence even more. Thank you for always highlighting the Black men that are making a difference. All right. I want to, and the conversation is going really good. And although I may not get to all the questions tonight, this evening, which will give me an opportunity to make sure I bring you back at some point. So I'm not in a hurry to get through the questions. So I know I will have more to ask later. Um, so I know you talk about the mentorship and pouring into the next generation. So what narratives about Black men are you actively working to dismantle through your life and work? I see that, just for the listeners, because, you are giving back tremendously and you are being an example of what is possible. So, what narratives about Black men are you actively working to dismantle through your life and work?
Great question. Another great
Thank
question,
you.
and I'll try to speed up the answers so that we can maybe get through everything as plausibly as we can. The narrative that I always strive to debunk or is that black men are unprofessional, and you see how I'm dressed right now. This is me every time I leave my door,
That's right.
and so with that being the case, I eliminate 75 to 80% of the nonsense that might come at me when you see me looking like this. Because you know that this man looking like this in this type of suit, I can't take no stupidity or madness or ignorance to him. I have to step to him in a very professional kind of way because he carries himself in that professional kind of way. And so that's always the narrative for me. Be professional because there's never a substitute for professionalism. A lot of cultures other than our own look at us as being uneducated, unprofessional, having no ethics, or not even knowing how to conduct ourselves. My mother used to say to us all the time, don't act like you've never been there before, even if you haven't. Get in there, sit down, act like you got some sense, and keep your mouth shut. Then that way they might not know that you ain't never been there in the first place. And
Correct.
I've always been, I enjoy dressing. I very much enjoy dressing. But more than anything else, is when I step into the room, because of the way that I dress, I have something that you call command presence. And that is they have to respect the authority that comes with the appearance, that comes with the intellectual properties that's between my ears, and the life experiences that I bring to the table. So now you can't question me. You can't question my background. You can't question my success. You can't question my track record because it's all documented. And if you're going to do business with me, you're going to do business with me in a professional way. And I've even turned down a lot of large contracts with white firms. And I say, hey, you're not at the professional level that me and my firm would engage you. And they're shocked.
Man,
Who are you to say that? Well, hey, we have a certain type of culture in business engagement that we will engage. We don't do business with everyone.
man, I hope, listeners, are you listening? But man, I really appreciate that perspective on professionalism, and I truly, truly appreciate it because even whilst in the higher education space, I take it on myself to always show up professional, especially for the young black males to see something different. And people always ask me, man, you don't wear nothing else other than suits. But man, I can so relate it to what you're saying, and it is so important. It's not just about wearing the suit, but we know the labels and the stigmas that society have already placed on us. So once I show up like this, you already know what time it is. So I really appreciate you sharing that perspective, and because we have to debunk some of those stereotypes and labels that society placed on us. So my next question, as we continue, which I think we may be able to get to the end: how do you protect your mindset in environments that may not always affirm you?
Wow. Well, I'll use this. And again, it may sound like a sexy paraphrase type of term, but I have been successful in developing a bulletproof mindset. And that bulletproof mindset comes as a result of the fact that, going back to a comment I made earlier about having earned the right to be in a certain room, in a certain seat, in a certain position, and being respected as that thought leader and intellectual property leader, then I have a bulletproof mindset. There's not really too much that you can say to me that's going to change my mindset other than that of excellence and other than that of success. Because here's what I know: If you've ever done any degree of studying the psychology of the mind, most people, in some cases, if they have personal insecurities, are projecting those personal insecurities of themselves onto you.
That's right.
And so, with that being the case, I cannot allow myself to become subject to your personal insecurities, your discomforts with me and who I am and what I represent and what I may be trying to get accomplished and bring to the table. Because for me, I'm a results oriented kind of guy. I'm always about what is it going to take for us all to collectively get to the finish line. It's a teamwork makes the dream work approach. So if you have any type of petty insecurities, any fallacies or any mindsets or dispositions about who I am and what I am, that's your problem. It's not mine, because I'm here for the results. And I'm not here to patronize you. I'm not here to bow down to you. And more than anything else, I am here to respect you. So if
Correct.
you are another black man and we walk into the room and I walk up on Dr. Cross and I see he's tight head to toe, I ain't got to start looking at him head to toe like who he think he is. That's not my mindset. My mindset is this is another brilliant man such as myself. Dr. Cross, it's an honor to meet you. How are you, sir? Tell me
Likewise.
about yourself, Dr. Cross. How can I get to know you better? See, that's mutual respect.
Yes, sir.
And that's how it should be carried. Don't always walk around with a disparaging thought about another black king, because he may be in a situation as to where all you're doing is endorsing the naysayers and the doubters in his life that may cause him to fall even further down. No, reach out there, snatch him by the collar, lift him up, sustain him in any way that you can, as long as it's not detrimental to yourself. Do that and help him come up. Don't leave him where he is. Help him come up. Because as he comes up, someone else comes up. And what they say about boating, right? Rising tide raises all of the boats in the water. Now
That's
we
right.
all floating.
That's right. And as the viewer said, um, you know, they respect that perspective, but you're preaching again, and which is really good, because it's a reminder that we all need. We never should let anyone project their insecurities on us, and also we should be comfortable with another brother, another black king with their excellence, and learn to appreciate it. And also, if they are not where they want to be, our goal, our job should not to bring them down further. If anything we should be doing is lift each other up, and that's something that we must make a commitment to, especially if they show the desire to be lifted up. So which leads me to my next question. I'm going to try to go through these as quick as possible. What habits or disciplines have been critical to your growth and transformation?
I'll tell a story and then that'll help me answer the question. As one, when I studied as the executive entrepreneur in residence for 2.5 semesters at North Carolina A&T State University to launch their School of Entrepreneurship and Innovation that we helped them acquire a center of excellence. After at the end of one of my lectures, one of the students asked me, Mr. Smith, what do you think is the most valuable thing that you enjoy about being successful and all of the stuff that you've done, Mr. Smith? And I in turn, I said, well, let me ask you a question. What's the most valuable commodity on the face of the earth? And so she said, what? Your money and all of the success and the things that you can do for other people with your money? I said, no, you can always make more money. Well, your houses and maybe your businesses and other corporations and people that you've helped. I said, no, you can always do more of that. The one thing that you cannot do is reclaim spent time. Once it's spent, it's gone. Time is the most valuable commodity on the face of the earth. And the most important thing about me and my life, the most important discipline is time management. You have to manage your time precisely. The more successful you become, the more important time management becomes. Because again, once it's spent, it's gone. And if you can control your own time, that is the most powerful thing in the world, the ability to control your own time. And one of them said, well, give me an example. I said, okay, let me give you an example. I said, I was about to go on stage at a public speaking engagement, and my phone rang, and it was my daughter. She said, hey, Dad. I said, how you doing, baby? She said, I'm doing good. She said, when is the next time you come into home here to Atlanta? I said, I'll be about another month. What, you need something? Well, no, I'm okay. And her voice dropped. And I said, Mackenzie, that's my daughter's name. I said, are you okay? She said, nah, I was just hoping to get some dad time in. I said, okay, not a problem. I said, let me do this speaking engagement. I'm about to step on the stage. I'll call you as soon as I get off the stage. Okay, Dad, call me later. Hung up. As soon as I got off the stage, I called her. I said, baby. She said, yeah, Dad. I said, I'll be there in 2 days and I'll stay a week. You coming? I said, yeah, I'm coming. She said, well, why? She said, you didn't have to come, Dad. I said, no. You said you wanted some dad time. I'm going to give you some dad time. And me owning my own business and being able to control my own time, no one on the planet could tell me that I couldn't go spend a week with my baby when she needed to see her dad. No one's going to tell me I didn't have no paid time off. Nobody's going to tell me that the project was too intense, that they couldn't afford to lose me off the project. My calendar is my calendar, and I control my own time. So I could be there for my child when she needed me. That was more important. So time management, manage your time precisely, because every minute that you waste is a minute you can't get back, and always be moving the needle forward.
I don't have to repeat none of what you just said. As I stated earlier, hope the listeners are taking notes. But I will say, as you stated, we have to manage our time well. That's one thing that we cannot get back. We can make more money, but we cannot get more time. So we must use that time wisely, especially when we're talking about growth and transformation, because that's where we're going to gain our growth, through the time we spent doing whatever is going to provide us the growth, and the transformation is going to come from the time we spend doing whatever we choose, being personal or our work that we choose to do. The next question, and I'm already over the hour, but the conversation is good, so I'm going to keep going. I have a couple more questions that I want to ask you. How do you handle setbacks or criticism while maintaining your vision?
Outstanding question. The way in which I handle setbacks is, if any of us are familiar with art, and I got several of them around the office and at home or whatever the case may be, is if you've ever seen a statue with a man with his chin, with his hand on his chin, that statue is called The Thinker, and it was designed by an artist named Rodin. The way in which I handle setbacks is to take some time to think. And in that thinking process, I go all the way back through what just happened. Was I properly prepared? Did I know everything I needed to know? Did I have the right relationship capital to even be in the discussion to pursue the opportunity? Was I overstepping my bounds and trying to go for too much more than what my capacity or resources could handle? Was I not educated enough in that particular opportunity or that particular pursuit that would have made me infinitely more successful? So I take the time to think, and I go back and I document everywhere I dropped the ball when I could have been better prepared. It's rare that you'll catch Antoine Smith unprepared, because I work relentlessly and tirelessly at being prepared. I am over prepared every time I show up at the table. And because of the fact that I've trained myself to be a strategic thinker, I also break the situation and say, okay, if this doesn't go my way, what are they likely to do? I think about their strategy and what they might want to do. And then I say, okay, how am I going to checkmate that move? And then after they make that move, what's my second move if they checkmate me in return? So I'm thinking 2, 3 moves ahead. I'm always strategically thinking ahead to put myself in a position as to where it's a win for me and it's a win for them. And in most cases, especially in business, the dispreparation comes from not asking the right questions up front. If you don't quantify the opportunity or what their value propositions are or what solution you can bring to the table or what pain you can make go away for them, you have no value. Ask the right questions up front and don't take the meeting unless you're prepared. There's no harm in saying, you know what, hey, Dr. Cross, I know we were scheduled to meet tomorrow. I'm calling you today to let you know there's a few more boxes I got to check. Can we kick it to next week? There's no harm in that. That lets Dr. Cross know that I'm thinking about this and I'm not just firing from the hip. That lets him know that I'm putting some thought process in this because I want to bring value to him. He hangs up the phone and says, oh, okay, he's serious about this. Because I know I'm doing Dr. Cross a disservice if I show up unprepared. I'm wasting his time and I'm wasting my time, right? Because you only get one opportunity to make a first impression. And if you show up prepared, well documented, and ready to execute, you leave them no other alternative than to say yes. We don't give people an opportunity or a reason to say yes, but we give them every reason to say no. We go in unprepared. We didn't do no due diligence. We didn't find out anything about their background. Most of the time, when I sit down with another executive, I know just as much about their business as they do. And the questions that I ask, they just sit back and smile. It's like, hey, Antoine, you've been spending time in my business with my people? No, but I've been talking to some of your people because when we came here today, I wanted our meeting to have some merit. Here's what I think. What are your thoughts? And I'll spell it out. And see, that's where we as Black men, we walk in thinking about how much I'm going to negotiate on the contract. We trying to get the check before we ever even deliver any value. I got to get you to trust me first in this relationship and you to identify with the value that I'm bringing to the table. We can always talk numbers later. Because if you think transactionally and that I'm going to get this check, you probably walk out making 30 to 40% less than what they was actually willing to give you. You cheated yourself. But if you go in prepared, well documented, ask the right questions, understand their business just as well as they do, they'll say, okay, Antoine, what's your number? I heard you're expensive. I am. I smile every time they say, yeah, I am. Just make sure the commas and the decimal points is in the right way and we'll deliver for you. And that's how I do business.
Yes, sir. And man, I appreciate that perspective, and it also reminds us that as Black men, we need to show up not only prepared, but also to make sure we are providing value to whoever we are dealing with, because as you say, we don't want to ever shortchange ourselves. And I could go more into what you just stated, but I'm going to go to the next question. When you think about legacy, what do you want people to feel or experience because you existed?
Well, let me say this with, as the old saying goes, with a grain of salt. When most individuals use the word legacy, it's selfishly motivated because they're thinking about what type of building is going to have their name on it, what type of naming recognition they might get at their local college, what type of recognition they're going to get from their local municipality for something that they've accomplished. Here's, let me, and again, I like telling stories to prove points, right? Legacy, if it's true legacy, transcends time, structures, and the elements of the universe. That sounds like a lot. Legacy transcends time, elements of the universe, and buildings and structures. Because changing someone's life means that if they tear that building down, that building is not there anymore. Your name ain't on it no more. It's now a piece of dirt, and they're going to go back and build something. I was working with a group of gentlemen, and they came in my office one day. Hey, Mr. Smith, man, drop some of them nuggets on us. So I said, what you mean? What y'all talking about? Come on, man, just give us 10, 15 minutes. Drop something on us. I said, well, check this out. Life is about observations, right, gentlemen? They said, yeah. I said, come over here. Look at my window. So our office was on the 12th floor in that particular building at the time. And you could see off in the distance about a mile or two away, a beautiful building that had been there, white marble building, had some white man's name on it or whatever. And the wrecking ball was getting ready to start hitting it. I said, somewhere there's a man who thought that that building was going to be there forever. And whatever he stood for was going to be there forever. Life is the same way. In the next 2 days, that building won't even be there. The wrecking ball will have demolished it. The same thing holds true for you guys. One bad decision can destroy your life and your legacy. So make your choices good. The other thing is, legacies don't last in names and in buildings or on checks. They last in people's hearts and minds. That's where they last. Do you think that Issa Cogdale is going to ever forget Mr. Smith? No, he's not. Because he's going to remember the opportunity that he received by being in the program. And he's going to feel obligated because of the kindness and the character that he has to make sure he does that for someone else. So when you talk about legacy, it ain't about your name. It ain't about your title. It ain't about what you've accomplished. It's what exists in the hearts and minds of people after you are gone. My grandfather, my grandmother, they were all good people. When they died, all types of people told me things about my grandparents that I never even know. How they helped people, loaned money to people, fed people, and never ever even talked about it. They didn't need recognition for it. My grandparents used to take people in and let them stay at their house when they had lost their job or lost their house and never ever said anything about it. He said, man, your grandfather, man, Antoine, he was something else, man. You don't know what your grandfather did for my dad. He paid our rent a couple of times. And my grandfather, he was a pretty tough man. He tell men all the time if they came to borrow money from, I'm not going to charge you no interest. But if this money's for drinking and chasing women, I ain't giving you a dime. But if it's to feed your family and to help your people be better, he said, I'll loan it to you. But remember this, I didn't have to come to find you to loan it to you. Don't make me have to come and find you to get it back. But at the end of the day, I say all of that in jest. But at the end of the day, legacy, Dr. Cross, exists in the hearts and minds of people. They don't exist on buildings. And you do that by impacting people's lives in a way that will allow them and you to be forever changed. Because when you help someone, it changes you too.
Correct, correct. Oh yeah, I like to tell people it's like magic dust. You throw it, some is going to automatically blow back on you. So I really appreciate that insight and that perspective because it's something that we all need to be mindful of, especially when we're talking about legacy. And of late, we have been hearing a lot of people talking about legacy. So that's a great reminder for every one of us. But before I ask my final question, if you don't mind, share where the listeners can find you and support the work that you are doing.
Wow. Great question. You can do that at the Smith Group website. That's SMITH. Group is not spelled GROUP. It's spelled the way that it is in the Old English Germanic Bible of 1611, and that's group, GRUPPE. GRU Peter Peter E. That's Smith Group, GRUPPE.com. You look at the logo behind me, the E cubed COE. That's the E3COE.com. E3COE.com. That's for education, economic development, and entrepreneurship. We train on centers of excellence, standards, and mentalities in the space of education, economic development, and entrepreneurship. And you can also look me up on LinkedIn at Antoine Smith, just like it's spelled right there in my name. You can find me there. So, more than happy to be able to have a dialogue with you and help you in any way that we can. As I've stated earlier, and I'm true to myself, I'm a servant leader. So anything that I can do to help you, to serve you or your community, just let me know, and we will be more than happy to step forward.
Thank you. Yes, and I will try to get it somewhere there in the description so they can find it. So, my final question to you before we end this conversation tonight, which has been a great conversation, is if a young man watching feels unseen or uncertain about his future, what would you say directly to him?
I thought about that when you said that you might ask me that question, and so I put some thought into it. The best way that I can put it is to give you an analogy. And I want everybody here right now to participate in what I'm doing. Hold your right hand out in front of you just below your chin, right? Now take your left hand and drop it down a little bit lower to where your stomach is, right? Imagine that there is a super powerful rubber band around your that's wrapped around your top hand and your bottom hand, right? That's a super powerful rubber band, right? Now, the top hand is your dreams and your future, right? Your bottom hand in front of your stomach is your current reality, right? What I submit to you, Dr. Cross, and every Black man and every Black king watching me here and now, force your dreams and your visions to pull up your current reality. Put the stress on the current reality and pull it up. Don't let your current reality drag your dreams and your visions down. Future dreams and visions, stress the rubber band and pull your current reality up. Don't let your current reality pull your dreams and your future visions down, right? Put the stress on the lower part so that you can always be coming up. You're always pulling your current state up to your future state, which is your vision and your dream. So I do that exercise all the time so that I can inspire our young Black kings and men of the future of this one phrase that my one mentor that I still love so much today. If the dream is big enough, the facts don't matter. If the dream is big enough, the facts don't matter.
That's
If
right.
your dream and your future vision is big enough, it'll pull your current state right up to that future dream. At one point in time, think about it. You were a track guy, Dr. Cross.
Yes,
They
sir.
talked about for a long time. Nobody was going to break the mile minute vector, right?
Yep.
It's getting lower and lower all the time.
Oh
At
yeah.
one time,
Even females running faster than that 2 minutes now.
you see what I'm saying? At one point in time, no one had ever swam the English Channel. They break the time record all the time. At one point in time, no man or woman had ever climbed Mount Everest. Now you got people without limbs climbing Mount Everest.
Yep.
So don't let the facts deter you, because if your dream is bigger than those facts, you will achieve them. I promise you that.
Man, Mr. Smith, this was really good. And I like the analogy as well, because a lot of times people do allow their current reality to stop them from pursuing their dreams. because they look at it as their limitation, not realizing that their dream should be so strong, so powerful that it pulls them out of. And that's how everybody have done it. They use what they want to pull themselves out of their current reality. And every one of us will have to do so if we want to achieve more than the ordinary. I want to say thanks to you and the listeners and those who have engaged in the conversation today. Um, and I will say this, it's not our final conversation, and I want to say it here. So, I have to hold myself to it. I will not say when the next conversation will be, but I know we will have future conversation because I do know that you have a lot that, can be shared. And we didn't even dive deep into the AI part of the conversation, which will be maybe that will give us the opportunity to talk more about AI and how that can be used in our community to achieve success and to break some of the barriers that we have inherited. So as we bring this conversation to a close, I want to leave us with this thought. Leadership is not measured by titles or recognition. It is measured by the lives we influence, the doors we open, and the opportunities we create for those who come after us. Conversation like this remind us that every journey carries lessons, every challenge carries growth, and every leader has the ability to inspire transformation in someone else. This is what the Blackmail Impact is about: amplifying voices, sharing wisdom, and building a legacy that strengthens our communities and empowers the next generation. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time, your insights, and your commitment to making a difference. We look forward to continuing this conversation throughout the month. And I want to say thanks again to you, Mr. Smith, for this great conversation tonight. And I may not have gotten to all the comments, and I try to highlight as many as possible during the conversation. But the listeners will have an opportunity to have to hear you again in the near future. So thanks to the
Thank you
listeners,
so much.
and
I'm very humbled for the opportunity. I greatly appreciate it. I bid everyone's God's blessings. Go out there, do big things, do great things, because that's exactly what you are designed and built to do. Anything less, you're not being yourself. So go out there and do big things and do great things, because as you meet me and as you see me and as we gain more experience at the distinct time that I have the privilege and honor of coming back, we're going to talk about those things, because if you connect with me, I'm going to be checking on you to make sure that we can help get you to where you need to be. So I bid you God's blessings. Thank you, Dr. Cross, for having me. And I greatly, greatly have enjoyed every moment of this. I really have.
thank you. And I just highlight just one more comment. So for the listeners, I just want to say thank you. And the Blackmail Impact is where positive changes are inspired. Thanks to all those who have tuned in tonight. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation. So come prepared. We have more guests that will be coming to us here throughout the month. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks again for joining, and see you next time.